Hi, my name is Lenora Costa, and I'm the curator here at Longview House and Gardens. We are a National Historic Landmark as a project of a woman named Ellen Biddle Shipman. She's one of the first women in the field of landscape architecture to hold her own as a businesswoman, and we're the only remaining project that still continues to use her same garden plans and always go back to that. We lucked out because she also did our interiors. She worked with two brothers, their names were William and Jeffrey Platt, and they all three created this beautiful site for a couple named Edith and Edgar Stern, who are local New Orleans philanthropists here. The Sterns were wonderful in all the different projects they worked on. They helped start schools, hospitals, as well as worked on things like voters' registration rights. They were interested in making sure that everyone in the city of New Orleans had access to education and healthcare, as well as different forms of art. They were supporters of the New Orleans Museum of Art and the New Orleans Philharmonic. And they were just always interested in making sure that people could enjoy the world that they lived in. Longview has been named after where Edgar proposed to Edith. So he was from New Orleans and she was from Chicago, but they actually met in New York City. And when they were dating, Edgar took Edith on a date outside of New York City on the Hudson River, and there was a restaurant named Longview, spelled as we do it here, L-O-N-G-U-E-V-U-E. And when he proposed and she accepted, they thought it was a beautiful name. It had a French flair, and they thought it would be a wonderful name for any future estate that they built. And so that's where we get our name from. So Edgar was a native New Orleanian, and he sort of explained to Edith that though he was madly in love with her, that he was possibly just as madly in love with his hometown. Most people from New Orleans either love it and never want to leave, or, find the outside world a little bit more interesting. Edgar loved New Orleans and always wanted to not only live here, but improve it. So when they got married, she knew that she had to move down to New Orleans to be with him. I have actually worked here for 12 years. That internship I thought was going to be very quick, was actually the summer before Hurricane Katrina. So we had lots of damage in our gardens. We lost over 200 trees across the site. We're actually at the junction point of two canals. So the London Canal and the 16th Street Canal run along two of our property lines. And the ground was so saturated that even our buildings, which are slightly on a ridge here, unusually have a 12-foot below-grade basement. And it is kept dry by a series of sump pumps that are wonderful. They can run electricity or natural gas, and the only time they have ever not done their job is unfortunately during Hurricane Katrina. The gardens, again, we are sort of on an 8-acre site here that has slight drainage towards the canals, which makes sense when you're building the house, but unfortunately that means that when the canals sort of came up, all of our lower lying areas, our wild garden, our canal garden, were affected. Our grounds now, thankfully, 12 years later, are as beautiful as ever. It's actually one of those times that you never want to always look totally on the bad side. The good side is that you never want to kill a living plant, but if a storm takes it out for you, you'll sort of go with that as an opportunity. So there were actually plants that had been planted here at Longview that no longer supported Ellen Biddle Shipman's original plans. And since we are a National Historic Landmark due to her work and her contribution to the country, we want to make sure that we always sort of stick with that original planning system. So some of the plants that we would never have taken out already were, thankfully, in a way, removed for us through the storming. And so we were able to always go back to her plans. And so actually we are now a better site for supporting Shipman's sort of plan than we were previously. The way Ellen Shipman used to design was in garden rooms. She designed 15 garden rooms for us here at Longview and for the Stern family. And we still have 14 garden rooms that are exactly as she sort of planned them out. There is one area that's changed. Originally she had a camellia alley out our south exposure. Unfortunately, camellias do not like being in direct sun, and that particular area is very sunny. They used to have to build lath structures to sort of protect them in the shade every year to make sure that they didn't get too hot and be affected that way. And actually, a different hurricane, Hurricane Betsy in 1965, sort of fixed that problem a little bit by taking out a lot of those camellias, and eventually we altered that garden area to be what we refer to now as Spanish Court. Spanish Court was designed by Edith Stern, the owner of the home, as well as one of the original architects, William Platt. So we always like to think of Longview as being created by 5 people. So we have Edith and Edgar Stern, the owners, Mrs. Shipman, our landscaper and interior designer, and then our 2 architects, William and Jeffrey Platt. So everything down to where our gift shop and parking lots are have been designed by one of those 5 people, which helps to make the site a continuous and sort of all-designed location. We hope that people come to Longview to enjoy not only the beauty of the site, but also to hopefully be inspired by all of the different projects the Sterns worked in and make them, as a visitor, more engaged and inspired to be engaged as a member of their own community, to be sort of civically minded and interested in the world around them.